Hello, are you an international student? Are you looking forward to going for your visa interview this year? Then this video is for you because in this video, I'm going to elaborate 4 things to do this year if you're an F1 student or you are going for your visa as an F1 student. So the first point that I have is be on point. What do I mean by be on point? The visa interview that you are going for wouldn't be more than 2 to 3 minutes. So you want to be very concise and very precise when you go for your visa interview with regards to the questions that you may be asked. And normally, when you go for your visa interview, there are 3 major things that no matter what is going to come up. And the first one is why the US? Why did you decide to choose that particular school in the United States? Who is going to pay for your trip? And the last question is going to be after school, what is your intention? Which is a question that ties you back to what we call the home times. So these questions might not be asked explicitly, right? But at the end of the day, the manner and the ways in which the visa officer is going to ask you the questions are going to be centered on these 3 things that I've mentioned. Why the US, who is paying for your trip, and what are your home ties. So you pay attention to that. Now, the second thing to take into account if you're an F1 student going for your F1 visa is that when you go for your visa interview, do not be unclear and inconsistent with your answer. Now, I repeat that. Do not be unclear and inconsistent with your answer. That is why anytime you are filling your DS 160 form, you have to make sure that you are well versed and you put yourself into whatever thing that you are putting onto the DS 160 form. Because you don't want to say something on the DS 160 form, go for your visa interview, and what you tell the viewer or any questions that you be asked, you say something different or contrary to the things that you filled on the DS 160. So you should always check that. The information you have in your passport, the information you have in your birth certificate, the information you have on your DS 160, the information you have on your Form I-20 must all be the same. Your name on your passport should be the same as the name on your DS 160, the name on your Form I-20. It shouldn't be different because the moment it is different, they perceive you to be as someone different. It's like 2 people applying for the visa interview. Meanwhile, you are just one person. So you want to make sure that you are consistent and you are clear with the kind of answers, even with the kind of information that you'll be giving to the consular before you go for the interview and during the interview. Because if you don't pay attention to some of these things and you are inconsistent, you are not direct, and you are very convoluted in the kind of answers that you are giving, that may cause your denial. So you pay attention to that. The third thing that I want to talk about, if you're an international student watching me, you are going for your visa interview in 2025, is that don't memorize your answers. I've been having these free mock sessions, and normally, sometimes I hear people's story, I hear people's explanation to some questions, and it looked so rehearsed. You don't want to be in that situation where your answers seem so rehearsed. You get what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, you don't want to go for your visa interview and you sound very robotic, right? You sound very like the answers that you are giving sounds as if you've memorized it. You don't want to memorize. You don't want to chew and pour. That is a popular statement we use in Ghana. So you don't want to memorize your transcript. You don't want to memorize the things on your script, because if you do that, the visa officer might think that you don't owe your story. You don't, the personal things that you are saying is not really about you. It's like you've memorized it. So that is why it is advisable to practice your answers with your friends, and not just your friends, people that are a bit older than you, people that you feel shy of one way or the other, like people that you respect a lot, and have them interview you. Just keep on practicing. You want to keep on practicing. You want to keep on practicing, not just with your friends, but with other people, so that you pay attention to the main points of your story, right? That is what matters in terms of your story. what matters is the fact that you are paying attention to the key points. Once you know the key points, no matter the circumstance or no matter the situation that you find yourself in at the embassy, you will still be able to reproduce and say something to the view instead of going there memorizing things. And sometimes some things happen at the embassy and you totally forget everything that you memorize. So you have to pay attention. And my last point, I've talked about this. You can find it on my YouTube channel where I talked about why it is important to look eyeball to eyeball with your consular. So that is the fourth point that I'm going to buttress or re-emphasize or reiterate, the fact that it is very imperative to look eyeball to eyeball with your consular when you go for the interview. You know, if I say look eyeball to eyeball, it's not to go for the interview and, it's like, no, that is not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is the fact that, bodily language actually matters when you go for your interview. You don't want to fidget. You don't want to act as if you don't know what is happening at the place. You want to be very focused. You want to be very vigilant. You're looking eyeball to eyeball, very responsive, very articulate with the kind of things that you are saying. Filler words might pop up, but at the end of the day, it shouldn't be something that is going to interrupt the conversation that you'll be having with the consular. So you have to pay attention to that. Eye contact, very, very, very key. You paying attention. It's not just about the verbal cues. You have to pay attention to the non-verbal aspect of the interview, because the consulars have been trained in a way that they pay attention to all those things. Sometimes you go and the moment they ask you, can you pass me your document? What you're going to give to them basically is your Form I-20 and the passport. Sometimes when you are giving it to them, once they get it, they will start typing or writing something and they might not even be looking at you. So you might be like, why should I even look at the view? The view is not looking at me. No. Whether they look at you or not, you still must look. You still must be very vigilant, focused, well articulated with the kind of things that you are going to say.